Jamal Greenidge on your right, Pieter Tubergen on your left. Humans and Affinity. Here we go. I wish it was a Voice of Resurgence. It would have done something. Oh, no, Jamal. Okay, I hope he has a one-drop. He's got the best one-drop, Ether Vial. Let's go. We're going to go over to Pieter. He knows what he's up against right away now. Only one deck starts this way. You know what? I might be feeling pretty good about things. I might take some questions after the round.
Who?
Maybe.
There's the hope.
Hope of Gear Pal, Vault Scourge, Darksteel Citadel, and an Expedition. Not an Expedition.
My recollection.
Invention.
My recollection of Hope of Gear Par, I acknowledge, not 100%.
Okay.
Not good against all creatures, correct?
Not good against all creatures? What do you mean?
Against a deck that is all creatures.
Oh, no, not good at all.
Okay.
That's a deck of all creatures. Here's Kitesail Freebooter.
Ooh, Invention on the battlefield.
Oh, come on.
So we're down to just Spellcast with Flashback. Alternatively, Teferi Hero Dominaria on the battlefield. That gets me there. Alternatively, Damping Sphere on the battlefield plus Fatal Push with Revolt.
You're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
You're doing pretty good.
Might get off the schneid here.
Freebooter took a Cranial Plating, Arcbound Ravager, and lands into Tubergen's hand right now. I haven't gotten a stamp in a long time. Long time. There is, ooh, that's a good peel. That's Steel Overseer. That's a really good draw right now. Noble Hierarch will enter the battlefield. Greenidge is going to put his vial up to 2. He'll draw a card.
Steel Overseer is another card whose stock is going to go up in the metagame if people are not killing creatures.
Yes. Absolutely.
In matchups like this, I mean, you got to get off the battlefield with Reflector Mage or, have one of your sideboard Staticasters because if you just play through this, forget about it.
Here's Mantis Rider. In for 4 Exalted Trigger.
I'm telling you right
already
now,
got that one.
Tubergen does not care. As long as it's not Reflector Mage, you have whatever turn you want. If he gets untapped with the Steel Overseer, Greenidge is going to get locked out of combat pretty quickly.
I have been on the other side of Steel Overseer in this matchup, but I've been playing humans a lot recently on Magic Online. You got to bounce to kill that thing. Because like you said, taking 4, sure, down to 14. I'll take another 4, down to 10.
Yep.
And then I've got a Vault Scourge that is going to be coming after you and a whole bunch more. Tubergen's got that Pepsi hat, a family heirloom. You'll see that on his player's slide. I think he's going to play the Ravager here. Yep. Follow up. Oh boy, game is just getting real hard now. Getting real tough.
I would just pass and allow my position to get better over time.
I would do the same. Pieter, a lot of talent with this Affinity deck. This is basically the only thing you'll see him playing in Modern. Been doing very well in our Classics. Been doing pretty well in our Opens with it. Off to a great start here this weekend in Derby City.
I guess there's a question here of whether or not you want to attack with the Vault Scourge or one of the other. I guess, sure, once you send in the first one, you might as well send in the second one. It's not like he has a second good block.
And if anything gets too hairy, you've got an Archon Ravager to throw around.
Yeah, you just bail out or pump through, whichever.
Yeah. Well. I'm happy to pump.
Yeah, I mean, this block sort of looks like Thalia's Lieutenant, but Tubergen has enough resources left over with these Ravagers to power through that and get his plating back.
Yeah.
Guess we'll see in a moment.
Tubergen just going to activate his Steel Overseer and pass priority here.
I guess the other alternative is he has another Freebooter in hand, but that feels a little early for a block. If that's the case. Things will be clarified here in a moment, however.
Because they have no choice but to be. So we'll see what Greenidge is going to do. Yeah, which means Freebooter is going to die. Plating's going to go back to the hand. And like you mentioned, there could be another Freebooter in Jamal's hand. Looks like he's going to leave the Vial at 2. He'll draw a card now. Vial on the stack, actually. Excuse me. He'll draw a card. So he's actually going to put it up to 3, and now he'll draw. Of course, can't activate the Canopy with Ancient Ziggurat. That's only for creature spells. So he did it with the Cavern.
I know we're kind of early on in the game here, but I think that we have hit the point of no return. I don't think Greenidge is going to be able to make inroads probably past this turn.
Yeah. I think if I'm Jamal in this spot, which also he's not going to be given a lot of time because there's a play.
He dies real fast.
Yeah, it's going to boil down to some of his one-ofs now, which are Hostage Taker and Malcontents, and those cards in combination with Phantasmal Image.
Right.
But that's where this game's got to go.
Tubergen gets to move here to plating on the Vault Scourge. That cuts off Malcontents. Tubergen's got a lot of life to work with, too. It's not like he's at risk here of that comboing him out of the game anytime soon.
Yep. Totally agree.
Greenidge down to 2 cards in hand, I believe. I suppose 3 if you count the Horizon Canopy.
Yeah, you can crack that via Noble Hierarch. But yeah, things are getting ugly. And again, this is kind of the what we talked about at the top of the show, where the most popular decks, don't want to use the term best because I think that's up in the air, but Humans, Affinity, Hollow One, they're very, very popular right now, which means linear aggro is very popular right now, but they are 3 different linear aggro decks. And they all kind of match up weird against each other, too.
Yeah.
I would say that Affinity is kind of favored against Humans. Humans is favored against Hollow One, and I think Hollow One actually does a pretty good job against Affinity. Mm-hmm. Plating looks like it's going to resolve.
And Tubergen's taking a long time here, and sometimes you see taking a long time because I can't afford to mess this one up. And sometimes you see taking a long time because I'm 99% to win this one. How can I get it to 100? And this is one of the latter camps here.
Here come those there beatdowns. Steel Overseer going to hang back on defense for what I would consider to be pretty obvious reasons, but also to note the 2 lands that are untapped there for Pieter Tubergen. Not his first time with Affinity, my friends. Mox Opal, Spire of Industry, able to move cranial plating at instant speed as necessary.
Yeah, I think Tubergen's philosophy here is if Greenidge is on nothing, I want him to have to block the Hope and then move on over to the Vault Scourge.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's got something, I still have the flexibility of moving as the need should arise.
Affinity, a pretty complicated deck to play well, but when you watch someone play this deck very well, and I think of the Alex Masseltons, the Paul Rietzels, Osip during his prime with this deck, and Pieter Tubergen as well, boy is it fun to watch, and boy is it tough to beat.
Well, I imagine we're going to see just a pump here. And if I'm in Tubergen's position, I'm just going to pass. If Greenidge is doing nothing here, then he's definitely done.
Mm-hmm. This is a spot where he could... Reflector Mage isn't the end, anything like that. I think moving here could be totally fine.
Seems unnecessarily... I don't know. If Greenidge... Like I said, this might be fine. My stance is if Greenidge is really ready to pass, who cares? This game's over.
Mm-hmm.
And this feels like you're exposing yourself maybe a little bit to some sort of risk if he vials through the right thing. Obviously, if he has nothing, then you're in even a more commanding position, but who cares?
Well, it looks like he does have nothing, as he's going to be placing his Mantis Rider and his Noble Hierarch into the graveyard. Hope it Gear Pile down, but everything else here for Pieter Tubergen is still around. And Greenidge is down to 2. And Tubergen at 22. Well, up to 4.
Oh.
Let's see what this is going to be. Reflector Mage, perhaps? Okay. Yeah, this is still just going to be too much to overcome, unfortunately. Reflector Mage can bounce something. Hostage Taker can take something. But there's also just a Blinkmoth Nexus just hanging around.
And the Ravagers just really raise the floor on how bad this can ever be for Tubergen.
Pieter will draw. The only thing that Pieter might be thinking about here as he plays the Blinkmoth Nexus and activates the other one is, okay, if you have Restoration Angel, how bad is it for me? Yeah, he shows a Hostage Taker and we'll concede the game. So Pieter Tubergen's going to win game number 1 here over Jamal Greenidge. Affinity up a game here over Humans, as these 2 players will get ready here for game number 2. We'll take a short break and then we'll analyze those sideboards in just a minute. are back. Get ready here for game number 2 between Pieter Tubergen and Jamal Greenidge. That's Affinity versus Humans. Greenidge down a game, so we'll start with his sideboard of 2 Dampening Sphere, 2 Izzet Staticaster, and buckle up for all these 1-0s. Zathra Necromancer, Hostage Taker, Direfleet Daredevil, Vithian Renegades, Grafdigger's Cage, Dismember, Sin Collector and Offense of the Foremost, Mirren Crusader, Oriot Champion, and Heron's Grace Champion.
The 2 Izzet Staticasters and the Vithian Renegades and the Dismember and the Spheres, I suppose.
Give me that Hostage Taker, man.
You want a Hostage Taker here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want as much interaction as possible.
Okay. I don't know how you feel about having to take your vial up to 4
It's fine.
when so much of the deck is at 3.
Who said I had to?
Okay, fair enough.
Leave that vial at 2. Hardcast that bad boy.
Fair enough.
So I can image it. Over to Tubergen, 2 Gear Power Aether Grid, 2 Stubborn Now, 2 Thoughtseize, Dispatch, Rest in Peace, Warship, Vandal Blast, Whip Flare and Snaring Bridge, Grafdigger's Cage, Ceremonious Rejection, and a Stain the Mind. Somehow that's a popular card this weekend.
So the Worship and the Dispatch, those seem good to me. Creatures are probably too big for the Aether Grid, although maybe Aether Grid's fine if you think the game's going to slow down.
It's interesting. The creatures for humans are too big for it normally, I think.
But if they're not really interacting with the battlefield all that much, they have some amount of 1 toughness. I don't know. I could go either way on it. It's got the Ensnaring Bridge seems great too, although you got to expect Greenidge to be able to interact with artifacts a little bit. Still seems great.
Well, we'll get ready here for game number 2. And we will have Tubergen on the draw, Greenidge on the play. It looks like Jamal is going to take a mulligan here. So let's learn a little bit more about Pieter Tubergen, shall we? A player, member of Team Bearded Dragon, 26-year-old from Nazareth, PA. 2 open top 8s, 1 open win. That's 2 awesome rescue cats named Mox and I'm going to go with Meme.
That sounds
Mox
right.
and Meme. I don't want to Jim Nance that one. Plays competitive, overwatches a relaxing, less serious competitive outlet, and wears his Pepsi hat when he plays Magic. It's a family heirloom from his grandfather. Member of Team Bearded Dragon and an Affinity aficionado. That is Pieter Tubergen.
I got rescue cats too.
Yeah?
I wish I could unrescue them. But we have. I also have 2 rescue cats.
What's wrong with these cats, man?
Nothing. It's just me. It's literally.
Okay.
It's literally. I have no more. I have. It is often said as an expression, a turn of phrase, but I quite literally have no more love to give. I cannot have these animals around me, and they're so sweet and affectionate to me, even though I show them no love.
Nice. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Around you.
Yeah.
Nothing but sweet and affection. And what do? You just come in just throwing haymakers about the Cavs whenever you can. Or retweeting something from 5 years ago that why would you keep that? I already know you're going to do that again at some point before the season's over, and I am not looking forward to it.
So I read Todd Anderson's article. We didn't quite speak to that about the Planeswalker rule change.
Yeah.
But something that struck me about the article was him saying, 6th edition, when we changed Template on the stack, there were some people were upset about it and change is hard, but, we kind of got on board with making the rules simpler and easier for new players. It's a good thing to do. That's not true. If you go back and read the reactions,
they were not happy.
Some really prevalent people, some Magic Hall of Famers even, said some incredibly stupid things. So let's not do the revisionist history of, we know it's fine now, and if we thought about it at the time, we were totally reasonable about it. Not true. You have to have the dirt sheets on people. You have to keep. It's the only way for there to be. We live in a time where accountability has been completely destroyed.
It's at an all-time low.
It's at an all-time low. People can't remember something that happened 15 seconds ago, much less 15 months. You got to write things down and bring them back up later. So some people might engage in conversations somewhere down the line with a modicum of humility. It's the only way to do it. That's why I have everyone's dirt sheets.
That's fair.
That's why if you said something stupid 7 years ago, it exists as a file on my computer somewhere. Because we cannot completely destroy accountability. It's not okay. We're already too far gone with that.
You think he's joking? He's not joking.
I'm not joking. I had that Steph Curry retweet I had from you.
Yeah.
That was queued up several times leading up to that. That wasn't like I just thought of it that moment. That almost got retweeted several other times.
That's a low point for me. It's a low point. Manish Rider is going to block Vault Scourge because it was wearing a hat, and it's much too big that way. We're going to go back over to Greenidge. Horizon Canopy. Draw a card. Hand must not be very good. In for 1. Oh, boy. That's not what I'm looking for on turn 4.
Greenidge mulligan.
Or turn 3. It's true.
He's dealing with a light hand here, unfortunately.
Thoughtcast.
Still feels good.
Yeah, peeling 2 with Affinity feels good.
That's another. No one plays with that card. Every time it gets cast, I'm like, oh my. Look at that.
Yeah.
that looks
Two
like,
new cards.
That looks like a thing I could be interested in.
There's a Dismember.
So for one mana? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, believe it or not.
The cost to reduce it was to play with a bunch of cards I'm playing with anyway?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Do you remember? So when Affinity first came out, we first saw it.
Yeah.
Way back in, what was that, 04?
That sounds 0304.
0304? You think it was going to be good or bad?
The initial cards were not very good.
Affinity is a mechanic. Like, how did you think about Magic then? Did you think it was going to be good or bad?
Oh, I was exactly the type of goof that I make fun of now about, well, if they're not in a good deck yet, they're not good.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the thing is that they print new cards. Frequently, they print new artifacts. That happens more often in artifact-heavy sets. So that's why part of the reason I make fun of this sentiment so much is because I was there once upon a time.
Yep.
I am making fun of my past self. Because accountability's been destroyed.
Right.
The only way...
We've come full circle.
The only way to keep yourself legitimately, like, have any sort of modicum of responsibility about this sort of stuff is to think about all the stupid things you believed years ago and bring them up all the time.
It's true. I thought Affinity was going to be horrible. And there was a player at my local store. His name was Blake. And he just, like, bought his Brood Stars and everything.
I got a good Brood Star story coming up.
He like bought his Brute Stars and had like his Overloads and his Thoughtcasts and like his Frogmites, and I would like lose to it pretty consistently with red white slide or whatever. I was just incredulous how lucky he was getting.
Yeah.
And he just kept winning the box tournament every Saturday. I'm just like, yeah, of course you have a counterspell with your Brute Star. Ooh. Of course you do.
That's Ensnaring Bridge Worship is taking me back.
This is a combo.
Yeah.
This game's getting hard to win.
Yeah. This is all right. Well, we'll see how much Greenidge wants to keep going with this. So this is my Brood Star story.
We're testing, please do tell.
We're testing for the Block Pro Tour. Where you could play Skull Clamp Affinity, and so we're working on Affinity. Our list is atrocious, but the cards are so busted that it doesn't really even matter that much.
Okay.
But there were some concerns because about the playing against the all Shatter decks. Tubergen here, being able to attack through the Ensnaring Bridge, move the Cranial Plating over. We're in garbage time. Whatever. We'll come back to this.
Yeah, sure.
And so, but there were some concerns because I was testing red-green anti-artifacts, and there were some Furnace Dragon decks or whatever.
Okay.
And that matchup could be rough for Affinity. Where the deck's all artifacts, and people are playing with 20 Shatters. What are we supposed to do? We get a line from Mike Turian, now who works
Magic Hall of Famer.
Magic Hall of Famer, all-time great. It's like I was playing against this the other day, and we got it. We got the card we should have for the Furnace Dragon matchup, Brood Star. It's too big, and we're like, that doesn't really make very much sense because when they cast Furnace Dragon, all your artifacts die, and then the Brood Star dies. He said, I was playtesting all day yesterday against Nate Heiss. God believe me. So. We play in the Pro Tour. Brood Star fails to meet the advertising that Mike Turian gave it. And even though we were dead broke and we were in Japan and it just busted out of the Pro Tour, John Sani and Adam Horvath, and Brood Star was like a $10 card at the time when cards weren't really worth that much frequently, set theirs on fire at the dinner table. After the experience they had playing with the card of the Pro Tour.
What can your counter argument be to when we play Brood Star and they play Furnace Dragon, all our stuff dies, and then so does the Brood Star, and the reply is, nah, that's not how it plays out. That's exactly how it plays out.
No, this is actually another great lesson. When someone's response to your critique is, just trust me, don't trust them. If they had something substantive that they could say to defend their position, they would. So if they say, just trust me, you know you cannot. Tapping out. Tap.
Greenidge able to play Malcontents, copy Malcontents, not nearly enough damage, and he knows he's going to die in the air from the Signal Pest and or Blink Moth Nexus, and he extends the hand. So Pieter Tubergen will win this game and match over Jamal Greenidge 2-0. Affinity gonna dust up humans as Affinity is wont to do.